I worked as the screenwriter and editor of the film Children of Lilith. Our movie is about an all female cult kidnapping a high school going boy. I will be discussing how our product uses or challenges conventions and how it represents social groups and issues through director's commentary. The first convention that we followed was the production house logo. It is a convention in not only horror movies but all films. A convention that wasn't followed was the title being shown before the film starts. This is because adding the title at the end played into our whole air of tension and mystery. It's followed by an establishing shot and opening credits, both common conventions. The setting is a school, so it's a pretty familiar environment. Presenting familiar environments increases a sense of relatability among the viewers. We show the main character isolated in a crowded area, and this narrative is constructed by the hallway chatter sounds I added. It's as if he's stuck in his mind, depicting clear struggles with mental health. This follows a common horror convention where the vulnerable are preyed upon. The layered whispers are non diegetic sound, which is also a convention followed in horror. Our main character is dressed in dull and dark colors with no standout-ish style, which makes him seem more blended into the background, like no one would really notice if he were gone. Again, making him a more susceptible target and following conventions. The lighting post color grading is dark with bluish hues to again represent some sort of mental distress and to set the atmosphere as gloomy. However, a convention that is being subverted is that it is being filmed during daytime instead of nighttime. We wanted it to start off as a typical day in our main character's life, and that would start with school. Additionally, dark lighting during daytime can come off as unsettling and signify to the viewers that his world is always just bleak. The close up and POV shots are often also used in other pieces of horror media to emphasize the character's facial expressions and perspective, which is what we also did. He can be seen standing all alone in the shadows at the end of the hallway, once again indicating loneliness and invisibility. The backstory we provided is fairly vague in the opening scene, leaving the viewers curious and establishing the Enigma code, reinforcing another horror convention. Scene 2 starts off with another establishing shot with birds chirping, which was added as ambient sound to once again build a sense of familiarity and to add realism. This is, again, a common convention. The creepy music builds up till the introduction of the cult members, and it falls under non diegetic sound. Eerie music is often used in horror and cult based horror movies. There's also mystery and intrigue built around the cult members. A cliche creepy line in Latin that translates to he is the one was also added during screenwriting. Furthermore, it can be seen that the cult members are synchronized in their speech and speaking the same dialogue. This hints at unity between the cult, showing strength in numbers. This is common in occult horror. It also further highlights our main character's isolation as we can see two of them and he's walking alone. Furthermore, the audience views him from a higher angle, making him seem weaker and smaller, thus reinforcing his vulnerability and making him look trapped between the two.
All right, it was just next to class.
It starts to get darker, and the color grading is still pretty dark and gloomy to keep that sense of unease. He gets a phone call from his mom, and she speaks to him lovingly to establish no prior family issues. everything's fine at home, which could be going against certain conventions, as some occult horrors show a bad childhood, which in turn leads to mental health struggles or as a way to tie the main character back to the cult. He spots them standing under a streetlight, highlighting them before the chase scene. Now, the non diegetic screeching sound that was added to make the element of shock enhanced is a common technique used in horror and cult based horror genres. Chase scenes are used to instill panic in viewers, and I synced the running footsteps to the building up music, which is used to further amplify the effect of the music. This sound synchronizing is another common technique in horror sound design. His heartbeat can be heard again, and it accelerates as the hand of the cult member pops out, and a sharp screeching sound can be heard again. Intrigue and mystery is still surrounding the viewers as no faces can be seen. All of this falls within horror conventions.
Who are you? What is this?
Oh my, she has been waiting for you. Vanessa will be so thrilled.
She? What are you talking about?
Oh, you'll find out soon enough.
To somebody but tonight you belong to me.
Again, a POV shot is used. It establishes both the antagonist and the setting, another horror convention. It shows him waking up to create a more realistic feel. A lot of the props used meet the conventional standards for cult based movies, such as the pentagram drawn or the candles placed around it. This hints at sacrifices or rituals being organized, with him maybe even being a future potential victim. The lighting was also chosen to be red as it is typically a color associated with fear or anger. The cult leader is wearing a red gown, also representing her superiority in the cult hierarchy. Close ups and over the shoulder shots are used during dialogues between the characters to accentuate their expressions. The cult leader is also being shown from a low angle, making her appear more powerful and intimidating, a usual horror convention. Another horror convention being followed is the fast cuts and the L cuts that were used during editing. The maniacal laugh is also a signature of sorts that was given to the antagonist to help build a character that messes with the audience's heads and gives the antagonist a psychologically complex personality, which is another horror convention. The same ringtone can be heard again to build connectivity back to the main character and maybe even to his backstory to some extent. It ends with a cliffhanger, leaving the viewer still puzzled, also further reinforcing the enigma code of the movie opening. It ends with the title of our film, which is in white and red, and it has a blood splatter on it. This is a common stylistic horror convention. Moving on to the social groups and issues being represented by our product, our film engages with how society treats and understands mental health in young people. A mentally distressed teen reflects real issues revolving around anxiety, depression, and just struggles with mental health overall. In our film, our main character seems to be very lonely, and even though we don't have any specific reasons for it, we do imply that it may be due to his own mental state. Mental health is heavily stigmatized, especially in environments such as schools, where identity and belonging are fundamental. Students may feel the need to hide these emotional struggles. We can see that our main character only ever converses with his mom in the film, and that too in a rude manner, as if he's pushing her away, as a direct result of his inner turmoil. This showcases how a lack of connection and support systems can negatively impact a young person. In addition to that, our film challenges traditional gender expectations by portraying a male victim and a female led cult. In media, men are often depicted as powerful figures and women as vulnerable. Reversing these gender roles shows how deeply these assumptions are truly embedded in society. Even the name of our film, Children of Lilith, was kept with Lilith's identity in mind. She is a feminine figure in Mesopotamian mythology and later in Jewish folklore. She represents female autonomy, rebellion, and defiance of the patriarchy. It works as commentary on misogyny by exaggerating the power balance between our main character and the cult. We emphasize the power structures that have been established in our society, in turn critiquing misogyny. Male vulnerability is also not a widely explored topic in media or society itself, which can make men feel discouraged from expressing themselves or seeking help. Our film also interacts with its male audience by shedding light onto the deep rooted issues within the patriarchy that not only affect women but men as well. To conclude, our film follows and subverts various occult horror conventions and engages with its audience by interacting with real social groups and issues in society.